Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bob Wiseman. I'm delighted right now that we have the CIO of FINTRAC, who's going to be coming down and giving a presentation on the automating the core. I apologize. I've got two audios and sometimes it's misleading. I apologize. Anyways, the last session of the day, it's a plenary session, and we have the Chief Information Officer from the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Center of Canada, FINTRAC, Rachel Porteous, who is going to be making a presentation today. I'll just go with a quick bio. She's a distinguished senior executive. She's had more than 30 years in the IMIT field and basically a proven record of successes. She is a strong leader. I've had the privilege of working for her for several years, and she's indeed quite an outstanding individual. She's been Chief Information Officer at FINTRAC since January of 2019. And before that, she was Chief Information Officer and Director General of Solutions and Information Management Branch at Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. Okay, for that. Ms. Porteous has developed, led, and maintained consultative and collaborative partnerships, networks, and projects. She's also managed extremely complex environments such as that in the communication security establishment. She started her career at Indian and Northern Affairs, and she worked there for 17 years. She holds a Bachelor of Applied Science with a major in computer science at the Université de Québec en Outaouais. She's a mother of 2 daughters and volunteers in 2 not-for-profit organizations, the Association of Public Sector Information Professionals and the CIO Association of Canada. Rachel, we are absolutely delighted to have you speak. And now I'll hand the floor over to you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Bob, for the intro. Good afternoon, everyone. It's funny, I'm kind of talking to myself. I don't see you, but I know that there's a huge participation at the conference this week. So thanks for being here, and thanks for taking the time. As Bob mentioned, I've been working in the government for over 30 years, and I am currently the CIO at FINTRAC. And I will be talking to you today about our transformation, our digital transformation. But before I go there, I wanted to speak a little bit about the non-for-profit organizations that I am part of. I am the president of the Ottawa chapter for the association, the CIO Association of Canada. I just wanted to kind of, make you aware that there's such an association that's, span across the country. There's different chapters in the country. The organization is in growth mode. It provides great opportunities for IMIT executives in Canada to expand their network, to boost their performance by learning new solutions from your peers, from industry, and from vendors, to develop your professional profile and your brand, your leadership skills through some training, some events. We have an annual CIO peer forum that occurs in the April-May timeframes every year. And lastly, to make an impact in our community by sharing your experience with others. So take the opportunity, go check it out. It's called CIO Can. It's an association, and you can become a member and participate with folks across the country. As we've moved to kind of virtual sessions and meetings, you have the opportunity to kind of meet some really, really cool people and share your information and your experience. So it'd be great to see you there, and you can certainly hop on to the Ottawa chapter. We'd be delighted to have you as a member. As a woman in IT, I wanted to have a bit of a conversation around that. So basically, I always want to point out the need for us to continue to work together with academia, right, to entice young girls to take on or take part in information management and information technology. It's never easy. And I've participated in some organizations like Hacker Gals, right, and went into schools at the grade 9 level to kind of entice girls that were already in the program or already taking classes in computer science. But I feel that, it needs to start way earlier. And I know there's a lot of the school boards that are now looking at, embedding technology into their classrooms as early as grade 2, 3, and 4. But I think that it's really important that we instill this into the minds of the folks, whether they're the boys or girls. But I think it's really, really important that it's done at a younger age. And I know lots of people are gaming, that's one thing, but I'm really talking about, all of the different aspects of IM and IT. So again, I think it's important to continue to hire women in the field. I think we need to be able to support them throughout the careers. And I kind of entice you to be there to support them, so they can build their resiliency, that they can build their courage throughout the different, kind of aspects of working in a different organization, or in a different, like in a more male-dominated organizations, right? So as I said, I've been in IMIT for 30 years. When I started, there wasn't too many women there, but I've kind of made some allies, and I was supported by my peers and my friends at work to help me kind of move into my career path and be able to achieve what I was looking to achieve. So again, right, looking at as allies, we can certainly help each other to try to fill that gap in the government of Canada and elsewhere in the private sector. On that note, let me jump in on the story of where we are at on our journey. I was here last year and I presented on the the initiation of our journey into automating some of our processes and really getting on board with our digital strategy. So, sorry, I do need to move my slides if this is working. Sorry. Well, sorry, I'm having an issue with my computer here. Oh, there you go. All right, so I just want to kind of give you a bit of an update on our journey. So back in 2021, let's say Q3, so September timeframe of 2021, in the midst of a pandemic, we've started to develop our digital strategy. So we met with our business lines and we were able to kind of identify 10 different concept cases. We built those concept cases. We vetted that through our governance. And in April of 2021, again, through the pandemic, we've initiated the first iteration of our digital strategy. And really in the first year, because we just finalized that first year, we had a lot of work, huge workload to be able to achieve, but we were able to achieve the development of our supporting digital architectures. We were able to increase the digital capacity and our skill sets. We were able to adopt some agile processes. We looked at adopting some cloud environments. So looking at initiating our folks into leveraging the cloud for some of our solutions in the future. We were able to kind of put some security controls around that, provide some better remote accesses. We made some key upgrades to our infrastructure so that we can tackle some of our technical debt. And we were able to onboard a huge amount of new resources onto FINTRAC. We've also launched 2 different business modernization programs for our business, core business. So we have 2 different kind of businesses at FINTRAC. One is really around compliance, being a regulator with some reporting entities. When I talk about reporting entities, I'm really talking about organizations like the large banks, some credit unions, some casinos, real estate. There's a whole bunch of organizations that are in the realm of working into the fintech world and capturing financial transactions. And based on the act and based on our legislative and regulatory environments, they are to provide us information for us to be part. We're one of 13 organizations that's part of really looking at crimes in those areas of financial transactions. So we've launched some business modernization programs in those areas using some project management approaches, and I'll speak to that in a few minutes. And we've also launched a new digital office product team that's going to serve our internal staff. Most importantly, throughout all of that and throughout the first year and a bit, right, we really adopted a new digital mindset. And that was key for us, and not just in IMIT, it was key across the organization. Just to kind of situate you, our organization is about, I'll say, in the 575, 600 people. That's the center. And IMIT, we have about 100 people that are working there, helping us kind of move us through the digital transformation. So I'll be speaking to you today about our journey. And, in the past, last year, we've kind of looked at, who were our target client and what did we want to achieve from a product management perspective. We've really established our digital strategy, and I'll speak to you about that. We looked at a product management framework. What are some of the big elements that we were looking to place, to put in place? What are some of the principles, the vision, our roadmaps? We wanted to develop product management, a product management framework at FINTRAC. So I'll speak to you about that too. And I'll talk to you about some of the work that we've done in the product model development and really looking at, establishing some key roles of product owners and product managers and where we kind of landed in that space. Where we are at today, we're really looking at, our product organization structure. So we've adopted a product management operating model, and now we're kind of structuring ourselves in that realm to be able to advance our digital strategy and be able to kind of benefit from some agile processes. And then we're also looking at, putting that into perspective and organizing ourselves to be able to work in that product management, and we call the product management beta 1, right? And learn from that so we can build the beta 2 and the beta 3, and then, achieve some maturity in that environment. And all that looking at, business automation and modernization throughout the organization to be able to bring them some business value and advance their work. Sorry, this is a build. So basically last year I talked to you a little bit about that. If you were there, if you weren't there, I'm giving you a bit of an update, but there's a bit of a 5-step that we've been taking on. And the first one really was to look at, listening actively to our business, building a business relationship and trying to identify what are the critical pain points. And I spoke earlier about the fact that we looked at some concept cases in each of our different business areas. We identified 10 different concept cases that gave us kind of some business cases if you wanted to make a case to say, hey, we need to invest in those areas. So really building that relationship with the business, listening very actively to them to kind of look at, let's draw out some of those pain points that are hindering them in terms of advancing their business, and focusing on some of those opportunities and problems where we can kind of leapfrog and bring some business value to them. We identified as a step 3, really some opportunities. We've prioritized those opportunities, and we looked at, how can we potentially transform in those areas and bringing them some solutions, technology solutions to advance. We built our digital framework. I spoke to that last year, and you'll be able to see it as we go forward. But we started small. We wanted to make some big impacts and solve some really key problems. The first thing that we wanted to do is to just start. If we could just start, build something, anything, something we can learn from, something we can adapt to, and then we repeat it and trying to improve that process going forward. So we really built our strategy, right, to drive some business value. We've built the strategy framework on 3 different pillars. So these are the 3 pillars. We were looking at establishing a foundational digital capacity and some processes and the infrastructure required for that. We were also looking at automating our core business, so really looking at speeding up the business through some technology and the digital automation and the use of analytics for 2 of our business lines. And then we had a pillar around the building a digital office, so trying to enhance the work experience of our internal staff. And really what we've done to support that is really build 3 product teams that is really meeting our key target segments. So one of those target segment is our reporting entities. And as I spoke earlier, those are the folks, the businesses that are really providing us with financial transactions for us to regulate and for us to use to analyze and provide information to our law enforcement and national security, which is our second product family, right, to provide intelligence over to the law enforcement and some other national security organizations to help in terms of investigations you know, and tackle some of the areas, you know, and we can talk about areas as, you know, human trafficking or child exploitation or romance scams. You've heard about some of these things. Our main mandate is really to be able to help some of those victims and, you know, be there early so that they don't spend too much time in those environments. The third component in terms of our target product is really around the FINTRAC staff. And that was really around building that digital office and trying to help them having some productivity tools to be able to make their lives easier every day. Here, I want to talk to you a little bit, if you know, about where we are at in terms of our project management framework. So what we need to be able to do here is, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm keeping at time. So here, what we wanted to do is really to start the product management of FINTRAC. And what we were looking at doing here is really you know, advancing and starting to use those digital concept cases and continue to evolve our product vision and the goals that we were trying to achieve. We looked at some different principles. We've drafted some rules, some guidelines to help us along the way to be able to keep us on the right path. You know, we've done a lot of research in product management. You know, we've got a lot of research bodies that have helped us in terms of, you know, advancing us into that realm. We built a roadmap, right, of, you know, to build a bit of a prioritized backlog to know, hey, we need to work on this for this product line or product family. And these are the initiatives and the priorities that we need to work on in this other product line. And really, it was all kind of centered around the leadership, right? We assigned some product leadership at the early stage. We identified some leaders that are going to lead from an IMIT perspective on the 3 different products, because we've started with 3 different products, as I mentioned, reporting entity product, really responding to our compliance, and then a law enforcement and national security, really responding to our intelligence business line, and the digital office that's really looking at the internal employees of FINTRAC. But to do that, we also needed to ensure that we had a product owner from the business line, needed some representation from the business line. So having said that, that's the construction of the product teams, right? So we're looking at establishing some multidisciplinary product teams that are going to work together to prototype some digital products in the future. Again, business lines included with the IMIT folks, and I'll show you in terms of you know, the model that we've adopted from a product management. You know, the fact that we have some horizontal functions and services that are supplementing those product families and those product teams. We looked at really capturing the agile and the UX design process. We wanted to make sure that we were iterating through our first product prototypes to make sure that we were really capturing the requirements and refining those, you know, the needs of the organization. So we built a process around that. We wanted to make sure that we were allocating enough time and that we had the proper funding, right, to be able to support these product families and these product teams, for them to be able to learn, to prototype, to fail, to start over, but know that they were in a safe environment to be able to do that. And really to be able to provide them with the technology to be able to kind of innovate and experiment. So we've provided them, we've built a cloud-based development environments, right, to start some of our modernization. But the folks have really leapfrogged in that area in terms of, you know, looking at different tool sets and seeing what they can do with different things. And I'll certainly go into more details in the next slides. So we knew that we needed to change. Most government departments are organized from a plan, build, run organization. So you've got your planning, you've got your building of applications, and then we've got the operations, right? So, so we knew that we needed to change. We assessed some of the industry standard. You know, we revised some of the, like, there's a centralized set of models, there's some hybrid models, there's some decentralized models. I think the decentralized model are mostly used in the private sector, bigger organization that can afford to kind of go to that model. As a government, small agency, we chose to go to a more hybrid functional product aligned model. And so we went from a plan, build, run, or we're going to, right? We've done the transition, but there's challenges looking into that. But we really moved forward and landed on a hybrid model that we are adopting that provides you with, the proper decentralized products, right? Or the product governance, the product prioritization, the different product lines. And then we also have a bit of a centralized component where we've maintained the IMIT services, our enterprise architecture, our security frameworks, the strategy and the governance components of the overall IMIT. But we're now kind of into the realm of this hybrid model, and we're kind of learning from it. So when we built the strategy, we wanted to be more customer centric, and we wanted to build value in 3 unique business lines. I've mentioned that earlier. We were looking at modernizing our compliance and building some values for a reporting entity. We call that our reporting entity product family. We looked at transforming our FINTRAC intelligence services, and that product family is more focused on the law enforcement and our national security. And the third component is really looking at our internal FINTRAC folks and providing them with more productivity tools. Each of those teams are at a different and unique, took a different and unique approach. And I want to speak a little bit about that because you'll see what we're kind of doing. So from a compliance perspective and bringing some value to our reporting entity, what we're doing here, we're really concentrating on the beginning of, looking at focusing on user experience, user research for that target segment. So looking at their processes, right? The business lines processes, looking at redefining some of the services that they have in that environment. We're looking at building a roadmap to be able to meet some of the needs of our reporting entities. We've started a prototype in that realm. We're looking at some platforms for, case management, the engagement with our reporting entity, how to build that relationship. We're looking at, platforms to securely transfer information with each other. But we really started at the beginning in that realm. If I look at transforming the intelligence services, we were more advanced there. We already had our business processes. We already knew where we're kind of looking to go to, where we want to land as a target organization. So here, what we're really doing from a product management perspective is really looking at transforming our intelligence services with a Pathfinder product team. So we've built a product team. We understand what the pain points are already. We already have the user needs. We're really focusing here at speeding up the business processes through automation. We're looking at, we're beginning to prototype. We've built some environments where we've created some synthetic data, so kind of fake data, so that we can entertain some companies or vendors out there to come and help us through some agile procurement, to come and help us identify, what's best for us in different areas, whether that is in, network analyses or entity resolution or case management or any other areas. We are engaged with some partner organizations in the government of Canada, with some vendors, to be able to define some of our requirements and really see what's out there through an agile procurement. So, taking a different approach to procurement than we have done in the past. But we have onboarded here resources, we've built the team, and we were able to demonstrate the value of that product, right? So it's a different stage in the game, but helping us in terms of maturing the product management at FINTRAC. On a digital office component, which is really the third family that we've been working on, here what we've been concentrating on is really trying to serve the entire organization. We want to really provide some centralized services We want to provide them with the internal staff with, some platforms. And really looking at, some collaboration platforms. I mean, Government of Canada is really moving into using some Microsoft tools, and being able to collaborate through Teams or different other tools that are part of that suite. We're looking at enhancing for FINTRAC the management of our people and the management of our finances with some better ERP tools. So we're looking at enterprise resourcing platforms, right, to be able to enable our folks throughout the management layer and our team lead layers to be able to better manage their human resources and the finances across the organization. So really each team taking a different approach here, but really helping us learn more from the different approaches and inform our product management roadmap going forward. So as I spoke about, our beta 1, so that's really the work we're doing in intelligence. That product family is really looking at, internally launching that, organizing the team, a multidisciplinary team that's really, matrixed in. So what we've done is, as I said, we went from plan, build, run to a hybrid model. We did not from day one take the folks and move them into this product and say, okay, you're all working there. we still have legacy systems to maintain. We still have, key processes that need to be in place. So what we've done to start off is really matrix some resources from IMIT and from the business line into one team. And what we're doing today is really, looking at creating the backlog. What are the activities that we need to kind of tackle? We're really looking at developing our product catalog and the services that are required. We're looking at prototyping first, some of the features that we want to be able to develop and wanting to make sure that we have a good roadmap for the future. And we're learning by doing that. We're learning by establishing what is our vision, what we want to achieve, what are the goals that we're trying to respond to in terms of the business. We're defining that roadmap. The work is going to be done in a certain order as part of the backlog, and then we're kind of establishing what is that release plan. We're looking to move, right? Like if you think of release management in a plan, build, run organization, you may have had releases every quarter, right? So we plan a release in September, or we plan a release in January. Maybe you had 2 releases per year, and it's all organized around that. What we're trying to do is become more agile to be able to release on a monthly basis. And I know that's extremely difficult, and it requires some key infrastructure to be in place and some key processes to be in place. But all in all, what we're trying to do is we're trying to iterate through this model and adopt some lessons learned and adapt to it to improve the model. So some of the challenges, it's not all easy. I mean, we faced different types of issues as we went forward. Some of the common challenges that we faced through this journey and where we are at today, one of them is really around change management. And I have to say that I think it's super important that, you take the time to bring on board some change managers to help the organization mature in that realm. And when I talk about the organization, I'm not just talking about IMIT. This product model is being adopted in our people and culture. So our HR folks are also adopting a product management type of model. So they're changing the way they're doing work. Our business lines are also looking at, hey, how can I change my mindset in terms of becoming more digital, but how can I organize myself in a different manner? We're really looking at identifying multipliers and accelerators. What are those key things that we could do today that can kind of leapfrog us in the future, right? And it's hard to do because we have a full plate, we've got a huge workload, but we have to find that space. But to do that, we really need to have some key change managers that are helping us and helping the folks, putting things aside and spending time on key critical areas to be able to make that change. And to be able to, to think differently and to look at what we're trying to achieve. The other part is looking at the product management from a theory perspective and a practical perspective. So, I mean, I don't think there's a book. I mean, you can certainly buy a book, on product management, but there's not a book for your organization to be able to develop these different models. You really have to adapt the models and the best model for you, right, for your organization. There's a whole bunch of key things that come at play, right? There's the main thing is the people, right? The people is our biggest asset in the organization. How do we bring the folks to be able to adopt a product management framework and a new model of working from a plan, build, run that we've been doing for 20 years to a more hybrid model, right? And how do we, assign the work to the people? How do we make sure we've got, the proper activities? So there's a whole bunch of changes that need to occur in that realm. And I think it's very important to take the time to practically organize ourselves to match to the culture of our organization. Of course, we're trying to change that culture to be more of a digital mindset, to be, more agile, but you can't do that in a day or in a year. It takes time takes time to mature in that realm. I mean, in our case, we had multiple priorities. Not only were we looking at adopting a new business model, a new product management model, becoming more agile, we were also kind of changing our technology stack, right? So multiple challenges or multiple changes in the environment, right? To help the environment to leapfrog in some areas. So I think it's extremely important that you take the time, right, and you adjust that to your organization. On multidisciplinary teams, we keep on talking about, how can we have the right skill sets? What are the talents that we need in the organization? Again, there's major changes occurring in that area, in those areas. We're moving from, of course, we continue to have the need for business analysts to be able to identify the requirements, to be able to identify what's the processes and map out these processes. But now we also need some, scrum masters. We need to adopt some more agile methodologies to be able to do, I guess to increase the time to market or to decrease the time to market, right? We want to be able to develop things faster, not in a bad way, but we want to be able to to experiment, meaning let's develop components, bring them to production, learn from them, maybe not to production, but to development and testing, and adapt to that, right? If we fail at it, then at least we went that much further and we've learned something from it. So to me, it's something that, if we're making progress at the team level and at the product and at the service management level overall, it's because we are trying and we're adopting a different type of way of working. So I think it's important that we kind of look at these different ways of working, but it's very important to spend some time in terms of adopting some change management principles so that we can help the environments mature in those areas. So that's basically where I'm at. I'm going to leave you with just a few slides that I've left in my appendix. And really what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop a bit of a playbook. And I've got some key managers in my organizations, that are supporting our move to product management. And you can't go there from just a digital strategy or an architecture or an IT operation, or, you have to go there from all perspective of IMIT. So if you take your organization from a plan, build, run to a more product management perspective, they all need to participate into that. And I'm fortunate to have managers that have, we've been through our hicks and stuff, and, we've had some challenges as we went along. But I have to admit that, I think we have a strong model today, whether that's, matrixed or some more, some of the resources that are more tagged at 100% in some of the teams, but we've adjusted and adopted a model that we can learn from. And what we're trying to do from a government perspective is really develop this business model of, hey, what do we need? What do we need to get there? And we really need to kind of focus on, who are the key partners that we require to move this forward? What are the key activities? What is the value, right, of us? What's the value prop? What's the client relationship that we need to build? What are those client segment that we're trying to answer to, right? And what's the cost structure? Like, where's the funding, right? And what is the motivation, and what's the return on investment, right? What's the mandate we're trying to achieve there? And then, you know, another kind of component that we're working on is understanding the value that we want to produce, right? So from a client profile, right, there's, you know, we're trying to perform some, or we're trying to look at problems that we're trying to solve. What are those jobs? What are the gains? What are the pains that we're trying to achieve or trying to take away, right? And trying to bring some value. What do we need to change from a product and service perspective? And what we've been doing at FINTRAC on this realm is really, whoops, can I not go back? Sorry. What we're really, whoops, no, gone. But anyways, sorry. What we're really trying to do is build a playbook here, so that we can kind of leverage the work that we're doing across government in Canada. So there's multiple organizations. We've been presenting our model. We've been presenting the framework that we've put in place. And then we've been gathering information as a community of practice to build this playbook for the future. You know, we've got some key resources that are working on that. From multiple departments. We've had discussions with Transport Canada. We've had discussions with, you know, Global Affairs Canada, CRA. We're having discussions with CBSA and other folks, ESDC, to try to, you know, take the best, the OAG, take the best of them. And I'm sure I forgot some, so I don't want to forget anybody, but take the best of those organizations to kind of map out a plan for the government of Canada, you know, and possibly others that want to use such a playbook, right, to advance product management and advance your digital transformation in your organization. So I hope it gave you a good perspective of where we are at. You know, last year we were at the beginning of that strategy. It was our first year. We went through some hurdles. We've learned that, you know, hiring people and putting contracts in place is, you know, took a little longer for us than we expected, which made us kind of, you know, go back and really reflect on our position for the future year. The other thing is, let's not forget that we were in COVID. And I think that in the first year of 21-22, you know, even though in 2021 we were kind of like, oh, we're in this COVID, we had some lockdowns and things, but 21-22 was a year where we had a lot more lockdowns, right, restrictions. And then in our case for FINTRAC, we've onboarded over 100 new people. So there was a huge workload throughout the fact that we were, you know, developing or implementing on our first year iteration of our digital strategy. So I'm looking forward to the digital strategy 2.0. Really, that's our second year, right? It's a 3-year plan, but it's a 3-year rolling plan. So we make adjustments. We want to make sure that we're digital forever and that we can kind of iterate on that and build some stronger processes and stronger models to sustain where we're trying to go and what we're trying to respond as part of a mandate. So thank you very much, Bob, for inviting me here today. I hope I did justice to you know, to this presentation and provided you some key information in this realm.
No, well, thank you very much, Rachel. That was great. I've got some questions for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. First question. What other organizations have you consulted with to transform towards product management? Are you open to sharing lessons with other Government of Canada organizations?
Totally.
Like from the ESDC. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and for sure. And I mean, we've shared with the ESDC, and maybe, you know, ESDC is pretty big, so maybe it was one portion of ESDC, but we've actually learned from other organizations like ESDC. That was probably one of the first ones that we've kind of, you know, had some discussions. They had some good information and knowledge around Scrum and some different methodologies that they've been using. So we've leveraged information from ESDC, but as I've mentioned, we've worked with, you know, we're working with CRA, we're working with Global Affairs Canada, we're working with the OAG, we've worked with Treasury Board, we're working with Transport Canada, right, on some of the cloud work that we're doing there. So there's a lot of organization, and really I'm looking to continue to build this community of practice around product management. It's kind of new to the government, but everybody's doing a little something. So when I talk to someone, they all have, you know, they've all made some strides in terms of the maturity of their organizations towards that. And I think it's extremely valuable to share information around that, to say, hey, you know, my mom, I've done this year, this is what we've learned from it. You know, have you seen this? This is what we're doing, and we're sharing kind of information. I have to admit that, you know, there's research bodies out there that are also key, right? There's good research on the net that you can kind of go to. There's subscriptions that you can subscribe to. There's a lot of books that you can leverage to be able to help us in this business transformation. And again, it's really bringing the business and IT. This is not about IT, right? Like I said before, it's not the IMIT organization that's becoming, you know, that's modeling ourselves in terms of an operating model following the product management framework. No, it's the organization that's taking a leap. And we're trying to kind of, you know, educate the folks throughout that. So we've done a lot of education. We've shared a lot of information with other departments. And if there's other folks that are interested in embarking into this, you know, journey with us, we'd be more than happy to bring you on board into this community of practice that we're trying to build around product management.
Great, thank you. We got more questions. Don't go anywhere. There we go. Okay, we've got auditors in the crowd, which isn't surprising. Did you involve internal audit in the transformation? And if yes, in what way?
So, I mean, auditors are part. I mean, one thing that we had, you know, FINTRAC is a particular organization. You know, privacy is extremely important in terms of the data that we receive. But for sure, in terms of our transformation, there is an initiative as part of our transformation was around increasing the security, right, and being able to ensure the proper security and the proper monitoring of accesses to different systems, right? So they've been participating in terms of, like, we don't have an audit shop per se, but they've been participating in terms of making sure that you know, we have the proper security in place, that we, you know, that our transformation takes into account you know, the different organization in the department.
Okay, great. Okay, we've got quite a few questions there. I hope you're ready. There we go. The question is, what standard helped you the most with your digital transformation?
Well, you know what, we're building new standards, right? So I don't think that there's particular standards. I mean, we're looking at enhancing our architectural standards, right? So we're looking at different standards in terms of data. You know, we've been looking at, and we haven't necessarily adopted some of these, but we're looking at the financial, you know, not financial transactions, but like the FIBO. There's some organizations that, you know, take into perspective financials and economic types of standards. So we're looking at some of those for our data, right? That's one thing. We're looking at establishing standards in terms of our development stack, right? So, you know, we're such a small organization, we can't afford to have multiple stacks of different types of standards or different types of development products. Same thing from a database perspective. So if you look at the full stack, we're looking at kind of setting some different standards from, you know, the infrastructure to the middleware, to the development, to the user interfaces. So we're looking at establishing key standards there. Of course, you know, from a security perspective, we're looking at the ITSG 33. You know, there's a whole bunch of security controls from a Treasury board. I mean, we're really looking at leveraging the policies on digital and services, and establishing some of those data standards and digital standards that are being applied there. But, you know, we do look at, you know, key standards. If I'd have a conversation with you, Bob, right, you'd bring me into the architectural and the TOGAF and the NEEM and these types of standards. We're looking at, though, looking at, you know, should we be adopting things like ISO, you know, 2022, you know, there's standards of that nature. But we're really trying to establish key standards, you know, in terms of product management, our different stacks, and trying to minimize, right, our exposure to different things.
Okay, well, that's good. And just to be aware that we're working on open standards for many of the items that you just mentioned. If you have any contributions, that would be great. Okay, for that. So thank you. Now you got more. Okay, so question I have, does CIO Can have sort of a memorandum of understanding with CIPS, the Canadian Information Processing Society?
Yeah, we do have a partnership with CIPS, so we're working very closely with them to leverage the CIPS certification and trying to assess where best to position that. But we do have a good relationship with CIPS. They are a partner with us. You can see that on our website. CIO Can kind of supports the certification from a CIPS perspective. I have to admit, in the government of Canada, it's a little bit different with the unions and all of that. It's not something that's fully recognized, but there is a partnership with CIPS as part of the CIO Can.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, we got some more here. What overall transformation level of effort was applied to change management? Did you have to transform change management?
Totally. You know what, like, in each of our teams, I mean, we do change management, but we don't do the big C change management. And what we have done this past year is that, our people and culture organization engaged into that and set up an organization on change management to kind of, build up some change managers that can be helpful in the different organizations, and not only in IMIT, but from an IMIT perspective, we've leveraged that service from our people and culture sector, but we've also engaged some key change managers to help us kind of go through the transformation. It's been very difficult, and we're taking a different aspect, right? Very user centric, working with the business. So if I take the digital office as an example, it's one thing to say, hey, oh, we got Teams, we're going to put Teams there. Well, no, we need to kind of, make sure that the clients understand how to use Teams. And for us, IT, we kind of go, yeah, it's there. We've put it into place. Click here, click that, you'll get this. The user experience is the most important part for adoption. And that's where we feel that having a change manager helping us in that realm really helps us, get the buy-in from the business. Same thing from an internal IMIT, that the change management function has really helped us adapt to the new changes. We're now leveraging a new tech stack. We're moving into the cloud. We're adopting product management. We're building a digital strategy and we're implementing that strategy. We need change management across all of these different areas.
Okay. So one question I'm going to internally edit. When people are working at home with sensitive information, are you able to do that through the networks, or would you rather not? If you don't want to answer the question, that's fine.
I mean, we're a government organization. We don't work on sensitive information from home. FINTRAC is an organization that has, some closed networks, and people are on site working on that. We continue doing that throughout the pandemic, and we continue to do that in the future. Security is the utmost importance for us. What we've provided so far in terms of remote access is remote access, just as any other departments, to be able to leverage, work that are at an unclassified level. So we were able to pivot in that realm because we were an organization that was really focused on site, but throughout the pandemic, we didn't have a choice to adjust, to adapt, and to put the right security perspectives in place. But our classified information stays on site.
Okay. Let's see now. What are the key outputs or expected outputs of your digital strategy? Is there going to be new reporting tools, automation with reporting entity systems, automated controls? It'd be great to hear some output examples, like actual deliverables.
Yeah, and again, I mean, so as I mentioned in the digital strategy, there was 3 different pillars. So one pillar was really the foundation, and we really looked at reducing our technical debt. So we worked on the the IT infrastructure, if you want, and upgrading some of that, to provide more stability, to provide more reliability onto the network. So we've done some work on that part. On the digital office, right, we did a lot of work internally trying to give them some collaboration and productivity tools and some platforms to help them with their HR and the finances. But on the automating the core business is where we're really concentrating the modernization. And really what we're, what we've leveraged there is really some key functions relating to, how do we ingest the information that we receive? How do we, make that in a secure way? How do we, analyze that information internally to ensure that the bodies with whom we work, or our stakeholders, right, are compliant, based on our legislative and regulatory agendas. We also want to work, we're also been working very closely with our law enforcement and our national security partners, right, to be able to develop some solutions to, to share information in a better manner. That comes with challenges, but we're looking at developing some solutions in that realm to be able to share information in a timely fashion to help in terms of investigations and moving financial crimes mandate forward.
Okay, well, that's super. I was wondering a question with respect to the horizontality of information sharing when you're doing all these product-based sort of sprints and all that sort of stuff. Is that part of your, that aspect of yours in the hybrid model that's centralized? Sort of an information sharing environment?
It's centralized in terms of information sharing. I mean, we receive information, we analyze it, right, for whether for compliance or for intelligence. As I said at the beginning, we're the financial intelligence unit of Canada. There's such an organization in each country. We're part of an international network, but we share information internally amongst ourselves, right, throughout these different systems. But there's two distinct businesses. We have a business of compliance working with our reporting entity. We have a business of intelligence working with our partners of law enforcement and national security. Two distinct kind of organizations, if you want, amongst one organization.
No, got it. Okay, well, Rachel, that ends up all the questions. Really, thank you very much for coming out, and I really appreciate your giving a presentation. I really like it. Hopefully, I've got a copy of it already, or
yeah, I'm pretty sure you do.
Yeah. Okay, super. But anyways, really appreciate it. And just for all the viewers, this wraps up the day. However, I'd like you to just be aware of what's happening tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow we've got a key individual from Dr. Bree Hasselback. She's one of the foremost authorities when it comes down to data ethics and the privacy issues. I would really recommend that you look at that and take that seriously. It's particularly power, and she's giving a presentation on the data ethics of power, and I think it's relevant pretty well throughout. And if you don't basically sort that out at the beginning of your strategy and plans, you're going to be in trouble. Now, certainly if you're a global company, or if you're a government institution that does business with Europe, which I think most of us do, then what happens is what you have to do is you have to make sure that compliance is taken care of. They march to the beat of a different drum there. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just different, and you have to be compliant with it. We're also going to have Robert Gordon. He was a former ADM in the government. He's right now to the Canadian Cyber Threat Exchange Network, and he's going to give the cyber landscape in the new Cold War. I think that'll be a fascinating presentation. And then we have presentations from Emma O'Connie. She's the Chief Data Officer for ESDC, and she's going to be talking about data strategy implementation. And she'll be followed by Eric Sweden, who's a longtime member and the director at the National Association of State CIOs, better known as NASCIO, and he'll be giving perspectives from the US states. We don't have anybody from the provinces here, but he'll talk about driving digital acceleration within particular provinces for that. We have 3 streams in the afternoon. We have the cyberspace stream. We're going to have Poti Duncan from Treasury Board, making security boring again. We've got John Linford and Altas Vellani from the Open Group, and they're talking about an open standard for zero trust architecture. And then we'll have Karen Wetzel from the US National Institute of Science and Technology, and she'll talk about their national initiative for cybersecurity education. And then we'll be having Angela McAllister from the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity talking about the Canadian Cybersecurity Framework. For artificial intelligence, knowledge management, supporting data transformation, digital transformation, we've got Dr. Luciana Duranti, and she'll be talking about digital records. It's something that's really not all that well done, is record keeping within the government, especially when it comes down to structured data. Then we'll have Martin Saint-Yves. He's the Assistant Chief Statistician for Canada, and he's the CIO for Statistics Canada. And he'll be talking about capitalizing the Canadian data and ecosystem with analytics for that. Followed by Dr. Danielle Amiot, and he'll talk about a multidisciplinary approach to digital transformation and innovation. And that'll be followed by Dr. Jeffrey Roy from Dalhousie University, who's going to be talking about COVID-19, digitization, and hybrid workspaces, implications for the future workforces. We'll also have 2 workshops. Okay, the first workshop is going to be run by Dr. Raoul Abri. He's from the European Commission, and he'll be talking and going through the European interoperability reference architecture. There's been an incredible amount of work done there, and I believe there's about 27 countries right now in the EU, European Union, and they can actually share information, okay? And remarkably, when you consider all the languages that are associated with that. And that's going to be followed up by a workshop on identity management by Joni Brennan and François Bédard. And they'll talk about, they're members of the Digital ID and Identification and Authentication Council of Canada. And they'll be talking about perspectives on the progress of digital identity. Anybody who's worked in identity management realize that it's absolutely key with respect to access to data. I mean, you talk about zero trust, data as a corporate asset and the like. All these things have to be, shall we say, architected, and they have to be put in their place. So I would like to thank everybody and thank the speakers for all the work that they've done. You can always go back in the CEvent application and get recordings. There were a lot of streams and there were a lot of interesting, I know there were certain presentations I missed, and I'm basically going to catch them through the, I can basically listen to them at my own convenience and my own time zone, okay, for that. So without further ado, I will declare this day over and hope to see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much.